name is Josie J, and this is Finding Josie J. So if it's your first time here, welcome. And if you're coming back, thank you very much for coming back. So today's video is going to be the second episode of my series called Finding You. So my series Finding You is basically a recap of my therapy session, but it's more focused on the haha moment, the tools that were given to me during my therapy session that I utilize in my daily life. So if you're ready to know what's going to be the tool for today or what haha moment I'm going to share today, stay tuned and let's get right into the video. So quick disclaimer, I am not a therapist. I am not a physician. I am not a clinically certified something, okay? I am just a girl that wants to share her therapy experience. I want to share my experience because I truly believe by sharing my experience, it could help one person start their own healing journey. And that's the goal here. It's to, as I'm rediscovering myself in different spheres, I want to help others along the way. So, disclaimers out, I am not a therapist, I'm not a physician, I'm just a girl that is sharing her experience. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Now the disclaimer is done, let's get right into the video. So great. So people that knew me or watch a couple of other videos, they always know that I like to give a little bit of backstory before going right into the meat of it all. So before my second therapy session, I really wanted to understand why I was angry a lot. So what I did, I wrote down in my journal a lot of situations that were happening where anger was the first emotion, was the first thing that was coming out of me. So it was situation like with my family, my parents, my friends, at work, in my personal life. So I wrote down maybe 4 or 5 examples, and I said at my next therapy session, I want to discuss that because I really want to understand why am I so angry? Why was I so angry? Because I'm not angry like that anymore. But I really wanted to understand why. So during my therapy session, I do tell my therapist and I explain to her everything. And and also when I would share the story, the anger would come back up and I would be like all riled up and I was like, I really don't like that feeling. I never used to be like that. I don't like being like that. I want to change that. And then she was like, interesting. She's like, have you ever heard about the Anger Iceberg? I'm like, Anger Iceberg? And she's like, yeah, it's basically is a tool that we use to understand and identify our emotions. And I was like, oh, I don't really know that. So she Googled it and she shared it with me during my therapy session. So I do have a copy of it here. So I'll try to overlay it in the video. So basically it's that. So you have anger at the top and at the bottoms. And the way she explained it was very nice. She was like, when you see an iceberg, you only see what's at the top. So basically, when you're feeling an emotion, the first emotion that's coming out for you is anger. So underneath the water, the iceberg is way bigger. And she's like, that's your emotions too. There's more emotion underneath anger that's showing up predominantly. And I was like, okay, interesting. And as she was talking, I was looking at the image and I was like, okay. And I was identifying a bunch of emotion, anxiety, embarrassment, sadness, overwhelmed, and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. So we chatted more during the therapy session. And then at the end of the therapy session, I went back into my journal where I wrote a couple of different scenarios that anger would be the first emotion that would come out. And I told myself, okay, Josie, are you really angry? Like, are you really angry? And I was like, no, I'm not. It's not, anger showed up, but I wasn't really angry. And I was like, okay, by looking at the iceberg, what do you feel? And I went through all the scenarios and I was asking myself, okay, do you feel sadness? Do you feel pain? Do you feel frustration? And It's sad, but it's good at the same time. I was able to identify correctly the true emotions that I was feeling, and it was mostly hurt. Yeah, it was mostly hurt, being overwhelmed, being embarrassed, and being jealous. And I was like, wow. And I really did the exercise. It took me maybe 3 hours. I sat down at my kitchen table and I wrote down the scenario, and then I was like, okay, why? Okay, what am I really angry? No. What is the other emotion am I feeling? And I was like, embarrassed. Okay, why am I feeling embarrassed? What was that? Why was that scenario embarrassing for me? And it was such a great experience to narrow down my true emotion, identifying really what was happening with me inside, and not just always showing up angry. And unfortunately, in this society, when you're a Black woman, um, our emotions are often put aside, and we want to keep that brave face, but sometimes they say I would say often we are seen as angry, and it's not that we're angry, we're hurt, we're embarrassed, we are often overwhelmed, we have a lot of anxiety. And when I was able to pinpoint those emotions, I was like, okay, God, this is what I'm really feeling. What can I do to change my emotion and change my embarrassment to being proud, change my anxiety to be more calmer, change my jealousy to become someone that's more I would say joyful. So I was like putting that in front of God and asking, okay, what are the steps that I can do? And God is working with me with that still, but I have to say, being able to identify my emotions, I was able to manage them correctly. And for me, that was my haha moment in therapy. That was really a moment when I was like, okay, thank you, God. I'm not an angry person. Anger is not for me. Anger is not inside of me. Is that anger is the emotion that's the easiest to come out. But I'm actually hurt. I'm actually embarrassed. I'm actually feeling overwhelmed. And I think a lot of us are overwhelmed, and we are keeping a brave face, and we're trying to go through life, and unfortunately it shows up as anger. But I asked God, okay, God, what can I do to be less overwhelmed? And it's funny because it went to my next therapy session. We talked about letting go, so that's something else that I'm going to share in another video. But yeah, that was my haha moment for that session, was the, okay, I'm not someone that's angry all the time. I'm hurt, I'm embarrassed, I'm jealous sometimes. And identifying those emotions was awesome. And as God is the center of everything that I do on the channel, I went to the scriptures and I wanted to know, what does God say about anger and how we're able to identify our emotion and manage them correctly. And I ended up on two great verses that I think that that I encourage you all to read, and to keep in mind that anger is not from God. God wants us to live a life of peace. And so let me share with you guys the two scriptures. The first verse is in Proverbs 29 verse 11, and it says, "A short-sighted fool always loses his temper and displays his anger, but a wise man uses self-control and holds it back." That's from the Amplified version. And I like the fact that it does say that a wise man uses self-control and holds it back. So by using the Anger Iceberg technique, you understand that anger is not the right emotion to show. Anger is not the right emotion to showcase in your situation. Hold it back and identify what's the real emotion that you're feeling. and be able to control it and put words to it. And the second verse, I'm taking it from the NIV version. It's James 1, verse 19 and 20. And it says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires." So that's powerful because God doesn't want us to be angry. And God knows that through life we will go through ups and downs, but anger is not the right emotion to showcase. So take a time to understand what you're feeling, basically. What you're feeling. That's important to understand what you're feeling. Anger might show up, but it's not really anger. What am I truly feeling? What is really bothering me? What in the situation right now is bothering me that anger is showing up right away? So taking the time to identify. So that's what I had today, but I want to do a kind of a call for action. And for the people that subscribe and that follow me, I want to start interacting with you guys. So what do you guys think? One first question is, have you ever heard about the Anger Iceberg? And also, when you look at that tool, use it in your daily life and let me know how you were able to manage your anger when you got angry in another situation, how you were able to manage it by understanding and identifying the right emotion that you're feeling. I want to know, guys, like, let me know. And because for me, this totally changed my outlook on things. I'm less angry because I know what I'm feeling at the moment. It might take time. I have to say, it didn't start the next day. It took me like a week or two to get used to, okay, what am I feeling right now? Like asking myself the question, okay, it's not anger, so what is it? So what is bothering me right now? It took me some time, so I have to say, with God's grace, I was able to liberate myself, I would say, from anger. Not saying that I don't get angry sometimes, but I know anger is not the right emotion. So yeah, I want to know more from you guys. Let me know below in the comments. Write down if you ever heard about the Anger Iceberg. If you're using that tool, how is it of a benefit to you? And yeah, I want to start chit-chatting. I want to start having conversation and having interaction with you all. You guys took the time to click subscribe, so I want to start engaging with you guys. So for those that it's your first time watching this video and you are interested in learning more about Finding Josie J, and I would strongly ask you guys, click subscribe, because in the last analysis that I've looked from YouTube, a lot of people that watch my video are not even subscribed. So please subscribe. Let's chat below. And that's all for today. See you guys next time. Bye.